Mr. McAfee.
This government survived, and this nation survived for 150 years with no income taxes. How was that possible? We had a government that was doing reasonable things at small cost. No taxation that involves the sweat of your brow can possibly be legal, and taxation was illegal until 1916. We can fund this government voluntarily. We have national parks. If you want to go to the park, pay some money. If you want to drive on a road, pay $1 for every 1,000 miles you drive. We can do this. But to do this, we have to stop the insanity of a government out of control and growing like a weed, and we can do that.
Mr. Perry.
With all due respect, your question is invalid because it presumes there are essential duties of government. If you want NASA to exist and send things into space, write a check to NASA. If you want the U.S. military to drone bomb children in the Middle East, write a check to the U.S. military, but don't force me to pay for it.
Mr. Peterson, what government cabinet positions would you eliminate?
Well, I'm from Missouri, and we love our guns and our whiskey, which is why I think that the ATF, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms industry, ought to be a store, not a government agency. The President of the United States does actually have the authority to effectively end one institution of the federal government, and that's the DEA, and here's how. We can end the federal war on drugs by instructing the chief of the DEA to set the federal drug schedule of all drugs to 0. This would effectively kick the war on drugs back to the states, and we could end the DEA that way.
Mr. McAfee, would you have voted in favor of the 1964 Civil Rights Act had you been in the Senate?
As many of you know, my wife is black, and having spent 3.5 years living 24 hours a day with her, I can assure you that legislation in no way ended discrimination. What it did is bring to the awareness that it is here, but discrimination will not end until you open your heart and your mind and your judgment to a person of another color, another race, another language, another religion.
Mr. Perry.
Allow me to give everyone a history lesson. The segregation in the South was not because necessarily of racist business owners. It was because of racist legislators telling the business owners that they had to segregate the lunch counters. In Virginia, it was business owners that helped the protesters violate the statute by saying, "Come into my business, violate the law." That should have been outlawed. The forced discrimination should have been repealed. That is the only thing the Civil Rights Act should have done.
Mr. Peterson.
Oh, I believe in gun control. I think that we need to control the government's use of guns. Honestly, no, it's an enumerated right. I believe in a world where gay married couples can protect their marijuana fields with fully automatic machine guns, baby. Oh, yeah. The Constitution of the United States says shall not be infringed. It is an enumerated right, and it doesn't say muskets, it says arms. We have the right to bear arms, and that right will be protected under a Peterson administration for once and for all.
Mr. McAfee. Should one have to get a government-issued license to marry? If same-sex marriage should be legal, what about multiple spouses? Where, if anywhere, would you draw the line?
Licenses for love, or how we choose to deport ourselves after going to bed or before. Good Lord, what right does anyone have in this bedroom? It doesn't matter what the sex is or how many people may or not be there. Good Lord. No, absolutely not.
Dr. Feldman.
I don't need a concealed carry certificate. I don't need any kind of marriage license. I don't need a marijuana grower's permit. I have a constitution. What I need is a government that honors it and doesn't ask for licenses and permits and certificates for things that are none of the government's business.
I think they liked your answer. Mr. Perry, North Carolina passed a law that said, as to the public sector, one shall use the bathroom that corresponds with the gender on his or her birth certificate. How do you feel about that law?
My question is, where does Buck Angel go to the potty if he goes into North Carolina? If you don't know who Buck Angel is, and based on the applause, most of you probably don't, so I'll tell you. Buck Angel is a transgender porn star. Buck Angel was born a female. Buck Angel now looks like Adam Kokesh, only more buff. But Buck Angel still has a vagina. The Republicans in North Carolina say that Buck Angel should go to the ladies' room. I think that is wrong.
Mr. McAfee, should all drug use be made legal or decriminalized, whether marijuana or heroin? And what do you say about people who argue that if you do that, it would lead to more rampant drug abuse?
The drug uses remain constant, whether it is criminalized or decriminalized, and all drugs should be decriminalized. I have been in prison more than I'm sure most of, well, any 10 of you combined, for drug use. So I promise you, that hasn't stopped me, or did not until at the age of 38. I've been clean since 38. It did not stop me from using drugs. Nothing will. Neither, if it were free, would I have used any more. I used as much as my body would tolerate of everything.
Mr. Perry.
I read statutes for fun, and so far I have yet to find the word tomato in any statute. But I don't think anybody here would say that tomatoes are not legal. I think that every substance, whether it be cannabis or crystal meth, should be absolutely as legal as tomatoes. There should not be any regulations on how much you buy, grow, sell, possess, consume, sell to your neighbor, give to your neighbor, throw in the air to land on the ground, wherever it may be. No regulations. Everything should be as legal as tomatoes.
Governor Johnson.
In 1999, I was the highest elected official in the United States to call for the legalization of marijuana. I think that's good news. In 2016, I'm still the highest elected official in the United States to call for the legalization of marijuana, although apparently Bernie Sanders is advocating such, and I think a lot of that has to do with his appeal among millennials. Look, I think when we legalize marijuana, we will take a quantum leap in this country with regard to drug use. If we were to legalize all drugs tomorrow, the world would be a much better place. 90% of drug problems are prohibition-related, not use-related. That is not to discount the problems with use and abuse, but that should be the focus.
Mr. Peterson.
Drugs are dangerous. Drugs are dangerous because they're illegal. Drug dealers don't check IDs. When people take drugs, they don't know what they're getting. I believe that if we were to decriminalize all drugs, that we would be living in a safer world. But that's the political issue. The moral issue is that you own your life, you own your body, and you ought to be able to put in it what you please, provided you harm no one else.
Dr. Feldman, should all drug use be made legal or decriminalized, whether marijuana or heroin?
Marijuana should not be legalized like alcohol and tobacco. It should be normalized like caffeine and chocolate. Drug abuse is a medical problem. It shouldn't be a legal problem. If that worked, we should make cancer illegal, diabetes illegal, hypertension illegal, and we would have a much better, safer, healthier country.
Mr. Perry. Mr. Perry, a follow-up question. If you believe in legalizing all drugs, would you at least make certain drugs illegal for children?
As I said, everything should be as legal as tomatoes. I think people are smart enough to know not to give heroin to a child unless under the direct supervision of a doctor. I don't think that people should go to jail. And again, I'm guessing you're defining child the legal way, not the medical way, and those are two distinct things. But again, people are smart enough to know not to give horrible, horrible things to children. Let's look at Portugal, and I'm going over time because everybody else has. Let's look at Portugal for a second. They decriminalized everything 15 years ago. Drug use, drug abuse dropped drastically. Everybody's safer because they're not afraid to go get help if they need it. Right now in this country, people are afraid to go get help because if they go to the doctor will call the damn cops.
Governor Johnson, would you at least make certain drugs illegal for children? Dr. Feldman, you have 60 seconds.
Some may ask, Feldman, is he that libertarian? I am that libertarian. I'm that be what you want to be libertarian, that you look good on TV libertarian, that Muslim libertarian, that Jew libertarian, that Christian, atheist, Hindu libertarian, that Rothbard libertarian, that Jefferson libertarian. You know I'm not messing libertarian. That LGBTQ libertarian, no sex libertarian, that MLK Jr. Malcolm X libertarian, that revolutionary honor hall Ron Paul libertarian, that Richard Winger Bill Redpath ballot access libertarian, that Darrell W. Perry no apologies anarchist libertarian, that Gary Johnson New Mexico success libertarian, that Austin Peterson freedom ninja in your face libertarian, that John McAfee world-class badass libertarian, that no pain, no gain, get those petitions signed in the rain libertarian, that sorry I'm not sorry libertarian, that can't stand the infringements and abuses libertarian, that right here, right now, no excuses libertarian. I'm that libertarian.
Mr. McAfee. Mr. McAfee, normally going last is an advantage. Mr. McAfee, you have 60 seconds.
Thank you, Dr. Feldman.
Hi everybody, my name is Mike. This is my YouTube page, Mox News. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, so I thought you guys might want to see this. I thought it was a good debate. I mean, it's just these guys are full of energy. They sound like Constitution-loving Americans. You know what I mean? So like, get your damn laws off me, off my stinking rights. Abolish the IRS now. Legalize everything. I love it. Legalize everything. Legalize freedom. God damn you politicians. Alright, so if you want to see the full debate, it's available at the Alternate Mox News YouTube page. There's a clickable link in the text body of the video right here. Right below the video there's a little box that says Alternate Mox News YouTube page. Click here. Please do so now. You should go over there and subscribe. It was a good debate. It was over 2 hours long with no commercials. And I didn't hear anybody whining about how long it was after the debate. So I highly recommend it. You could tell from the clips here, I thought the highlights were pretty good. There's other ones, there's a lot of them, but I can only do 15-minute segments on this YouTube page. So that's why you want to go subscribe to the other one so you don't miss out on any good Mox News post. Okay? So Alternate Mox News YouTube page, the full Libertarian presidential debate. There's a clickable link in the text body of the video, right below the video on the YouTube page. It says Alternate Mox News YouTube page. Click here. Do so now. Subscribe to that page, and you won't miss a thing. All right? So thanks for tuning in. My name's Mike. This is my YouTube page, Mox News. Stay cool. One of these days, this war is going to end. If these guys got anything to say about it, right?